The note taped to my front door offered me $500. $500. After months of disrespect. Months of damage. Months of excuses. Months of acting like my property didn't matter. And now they suddenly wanted to apologize. Not because they felt bad. Not because they realized they were wrong. Because they couldn't sell the house. And honestly, that was the most satisfying part of the entire story. If you've ever had a neighbor or contractor treat your property like it belonged to them, hit that like button, subscribe, and get ready for one of the most satisfying revenge stories you'll hear today. Several months ago, the house next door went up for sale. At first, I was excited. Maybe a nice family would move in. Maybe the neighborhood would get even better. Instead, the house was bought almost immediately by a house flipper. You know the type. Buy a property. Do the cheapest renovation possible. Cover everything in grey paint. Install questionable flooring. List it for a massive profit. The very first day the contractors showed up, I knew things were going to be a problem. A giant porta potty appeared between our houses. Equipment started arriving. Trucks came and went all day. Still, I tried to stay patient. People had work to do. I understood that. Then I came home from work one afternoon. I parked my car in my usual spot on the street. Got out. Looked down. And immediately froze. Mud. Everywhere. Thick mud covered part of the street. Fresh tire tracks crossed the sidewalk. And then I followed those tracks with my eyes. Straight through my front yard. Straight through my lawn. Straight across my property. My stomach dropped. For a second, I honestly couldn't believe what I was seeing. Then the anger hit. Hard. The contractors had unloaded a skid loader and simply driven it directly across my yard because it was easier for them. Not asked. Not warned me. Not apologized. Just drove right through my lawn. I could literally see the path they had carved through my grass. Months of taking care of my property destroyed because somebody wanted to save a few minutes. I marched over there immediately. My heart was pounding. My jaw was clenched so tight it hurt. What the hell happened to my yard? Nobody had an answer. Or at least nobody wanted to give one. Contractors suddenly became very interested in looking anywhere except at me. I demanded phone numbers. I demanded answers. Eventually somebody handed me their boss's number. Then the real fun began. I called the contractor. I called the porta potty company. And somehow both of them tried convincing me that I was wrong. Wrong. About the tire tracks I could literally see with my own eyes. It felt like they thought I was stupid. That was their biggest mistake. The next morning I parked my little Honda Civic directly in the spot where they had unloaded the equipment. If they wanted to unload another skid loader there, they'd have to explain how they planned to do it with my car sitting in the way. Then I drove to the hardware store, bought a steak, bought a no trespassing sign, and planted that sign directly on my property line. The message was simple. You are not welcome on my property. Period. For the next week and a half, I left my Civic parked there out of pure spite. I drove my truck everywhere instead. And every day brought a new annoyance. Contractor trash somehow found its way into my yard. Dust masks. Food wrappers. Rags. Random garbage. Almost like they were trying to prove a point. I'd overhear them talking. Laughing. Making jokes about my property line. Claiming my sign was actually on their side. Acting like I was the unreasonable one. The disrespect was unbelievable. Then something interesting happened. After about a week and a half, I got into my Civic one morning. And my windshield was cracked. Not a small crack. A giant crack stretching across the glass. Over time it spread even farther. Now, I can't prove what happened. But I can tell you this. The timing was incredibly convenient. Nobody had touched that car before. Yet somehow after upsetting the contractors, my windshield magically developed a massive crack. Funny how that works. Eventually the renovation finished. The workers disappeared. And a for sale sign appeared in the yard. I remember looking at it and thinking, finally, maybe this nightmare is over. But I left my no trespassing sign exactly where it was. I wasn't taking any chances. Weeks passed. Potential buyers came and went. Open houses happened. People walked around inspecting the property. And the whole time there sat my old Civic. The windshield cracked. The paint mismatched from previous accidents. And right next to it stood my weathered no trespassing sign flapping in the wind. Not exactly the beautiful neighboring property they wanted buyers to see. Then one day I came home and noticed something missing. My sign. Gone. Completely gone. That was the moment I lost what little patience I had left. My blood pressure shot through the roof. I called the realtor's office immediately. A receptionist answered. Now, I knew this wasn't her fault. She wasn't the one who took the sign. She wasn't the one who damaged my yard. So I tried to stay calm. Tried. I explained the situation. Then I gave her a message. Tell the realtor to bring back my sign. Tell them to get a surveyor. Mark the property lines. Tell the contractor to replace my damaged lawn. And tell them I expect an apology. The receptionist quietly asked if I wanted the realtor's direct number. I paused, took a deep breath, and said, "No, that's probably not a good idea right now." Then I hung up. A few days later I went back to the hardware store. Bought bright orange paracord. Bought another sign. If they wanted a property line dispute, I'd make sure everyone could see exactly where the line was. When I got home something interesting had happened. My original sign had mysteriously reappeared. No phone call.
No explanation. No apology.
Just magically returned. Apparently somebody realized taking property wasn't the smartest idea. But I wasn't done. I installed the new sign anyway. Then I ran bright orange cord along the property line. Now there was absolutely no confusion. Nobody could pretend they didn't know where my property ended. A few days later my Civic was reported as abandoned. Imagine that. After months of conflict, somebody suddenly decides my legally parked vehicle is a problem. What a coincidence. Fortunately, code enforcement turned out to be reasonable. I explained everything. They checked. Confirmed the vehicle was legal. Removed the complaint immediately. That little stunt failed. Then came the moment I'd been waiting for. Today. The note on my door. The contractor wanted peace. They were apologizing. Offering me $500. Asking me nicely to remove the no trespassing signs because they were making it harder to sell the house. Read that again. The same people who laughed at me, mocked me, ignored me, damaged my property, suddenly needed a favor. I stood there holding the note and couldn't help smiling. Because for the first time, they were the ones dealing with consequences. Not me. Them. Every potential buyer who saw those signs asked questions. Every person viewing the house noticed something wasn't right. Every extra day that house sat unsold cost somebody money. And now they wanted my help. Honestly? $500 felt insulting. Not because it wasn't money. Because it proved they understood exactly how much trouble my signs were causing. The signs were working. The property line was working. The consequences were working. And for the first time since this entire mess started, the people who created the problem couldn't simply bulldoze their way through it. Sometimes revenge isn't loud. Sometimes revenge isn't dramatic. Sometimes revenge is standing your ground, protecting what's yours, and refusing to reward people who spent months disrespecting you. Because respect given only after consequences arrive isn't really respect at all. It's desperation. If this story gave you chills, smash that like button and tell us in the comments. Would you have accepted the $500? Or would you have left the signs exactly where they were? And of course, subscribe for more Reddit revenge stories.